Wow, that was quick.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, it takes a couple of minutes. I thought about getting a drink, maybe a bite to eat, but wow, it turned right on. So, hey, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM players, and it is still hot outside.
Oh, miserably hot here.
It's hot. At least we're not in Vegas or somewhere or Arizona. Eesh.
Yeah, so it's not dry heat.
Yeah, it's humid heat here, but whatever. But we're here. We're glad to be here, and we are hopefully glad that you will be here with us at some point as I tap dance, looking to see if the moment is Finn is about to occur.
Yeah,
Uh,
getting me nervous again.
I don't
Getting
know.
nervous.
I don't know. It's looking like the moment is Finn has lost us again. Ooh, look, little. Oh,
Oh,
wait.
wait.
Oh, there it is.
Ooh.
Hello.
Via. Hello, Baratim Zerte Viagon. Or, uh, let's see.
It looks like some kind of Spanish-like language.
I'm thinking, because to your point, Spanish like, it's Basque.
Okay.
I'm saying Basque.
Could be Portuguese, couldn't it?
Yeah, it could be Portuguese. It could be Turkish too, for all I know. But
is there an all of the above?
that's right. It's a dialect, a very unique dialect to Sven only. It's Turkish, Basque, and Portuguese combined.
It's like Baskin Robbins. It's 31
Yeah,
languages.
Basque and Essen.
All right, Sven.
What is this one?
Answer.
Hungarian. Damn it! I actually thought of that, and I didn't. I let it go. God damn. That's the first thing I thought of. I said, nah, it couldn't be. Right. And I let it go. God damn it.
Greetings, friends around the world. Such a nice
I know
group.
the sentiment is beautiful, nonetheless. But I'm angry that I didn't get it because I actually did think that first.
Well, you know what? You'll have a chance to redeem yourself.
Oh, are you kidding?
Because there's the weekly Stump the Godfather is coming up shortly, folks. But yes, we are back. And we do have a very special guest. We'll share who that is a little later on. Somebody we've known for years and quite surprisingly hasn't been on the show before.
I know, which is amazing.
That's been amazing.
Given how amazing this person is. See, I didn't even give away the gender.
There you go. But, we are the CRM players, and we have been unknowingly bringing the ads since 2009.
So we've been, not only are we part of bringing CRM to its knees since 2008, but the very next year we began bringing the ads.
Yeah. And it's good that we went to Vegas last month ago and found out we were bringing the ads because we never knew until
it had been locked in Vegas vaults for decades.
Along with whose like stash was locked that Geraldo Rivera was going.
Al Capone.
Al Capone stash
in the pink building. I actually literally, when I was living in Chicago, from the window of my apartment, Yvonne and I lived in this apartment in Chicago on Sheridan Road, we could see that pink building.
Wow.
Where the vault was.
The empty vault.
Yeah, the very empty vault. That was, you know what? I'm so glad he was embarrassed because he's such a jerk.
All righty. But moving on, we do have we don't have a specific date, or maybe I'll even ask the venerable one. Which one do you want to do first? The upcoming executive roundtable or the watch list?
Let's do the positive one first.
Okay.
Upcoming roundtable.
Okay. I'm going to pop this up and then I'm going to let you talk about it.
Okay. So we don't have the exact date yet, but it will be in September. Brent and I were chatting the other day after our conversation with Dan Bodner, who was you can see, it was the CEO of Verint. And we realized that between Sridhar, who's been on the show, Alan, who's been on the show, and Dan, who's been on the show more than once each, that they are all founders of companies that are just north now of $1 billion and related one way or the other to a customer-facing world that we mostly live in. So we thought, what a great executive roundtable. Get the 3 founders, the 3 CEOs, the 3 CEOs of $1 billion plus companies together to talk over founding the companies, a little bit about what they went through, what they think now, where they think things are going, how they built their companies, and so on and so forth. Because all of them literally are founders. I mean, every one of them was there at the day it started. In fact, with the reason it started. So we thought it would be fascinating. We've got agreement that we got to pin down the date in September, but we've got agreement, at least mostly, that sometime in September this will happen. And we will keep you posted. It's going to be really exciting. All 3 of them are very different personalities, but really each of them an amazing person and super interesting to talk to.
And fun.
Oh, yeah.
I think probably a lot of people are going to get fixated on their founders. They've been there for decades. They've each led their organizations to $1 billion in annual revenues. Quite impressive stuff. But the reason we wanted to do this, because we just enjoyed talking to them individually. We thought it'd be kind of cool to bring them all together and just have wherever the conversation goes, let it go. Because these are the 3 kind of folks that have been there, done that, still have the passion for it, and are also just really smart and funny folks. So
yes, they are. Good sense of humor.
Yeah, bring them all together, see what happens. You guys can be a part of the interaction, and we loved it. We just wanted to do it, and we're just really excited that they all 3 wanted to be a part of this. So we'll let you know what it is probably sometime in September. There's a lot going on in September, by the way. We're going to be a
big month.
Yeah, lots of events, virtual and then face-to-face and all that kind of stuff. But this is going to be a cool one, I think.
This is the highlight of the month of September. I don't care about Dreamforce. I don't care about any of the other conferences. We're the highlight.
Okay.
This is what your September should be geared to.
So with the positivity out of the way,
now we can go to the bittersweet.
Okay.
So for those of you who didn't see this on LinkedIn on Monday and subsequently, I've officially sunsetted the CRM watch list. As you know, we've been talking about it, CRM watch list 2024 and the grand finale, and we're going to have a whole lot of other like additional awards that will be given, but were not related necessarily to the submissions, but the submissions still had to happen and so on and so forth. Well, to make CRM watch list work the way it needs to work, there has to be a minimum, and I do mean a minimum, of about 70 submissions. If I don't get 70, then it dilutes the value of the actual winners. It's not a sufficient competitive level for the winner, the effort that the people who make the submissions make to be worth it to them. Plus, it's just not enough for me to really be fair in my judgment. So as opposed to most years, this year to date, I have ultimately, I had two more that I didn't send the registration form to. Counting them, I had 37 registrants, and that was it. I'm not one to dwell on, oh my God, it's failing, blah, 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 blah. But it's clear its time has come, right? And so rather than try to force it to work, I decided to let it go. Now, that said, Brent and I put an enormous amount of time into PPN and building it out as a network. And we announced exciting new shows like Esteban Kolsky's first one just happened last week, Whispered Insight. We have other ones lining up for the fall. And now that we don't have the watch list to concern ourselves with, nor do we have less tech companies standing, which pushed off into another year, there will be other awards. And we have a plan, beginnings of one, for an award show that I will tell you It has a great name, and all I'll tell you about it, give you, there was a big hint on the show already today, and that's all I'm going to say as to what the name of the award is, right? But then it's somebody asked me, "Are you guys going to do an award like CRM Watch List?" And I said to him, "No, we're not going to do an award like the CRM Watch List, but we are going to do awards." Right? But it's not going to require the same level of submissions and things like that. It's a very different approach. We'll explain it as we work out the details. Watch for it soon, though, even though it will be obviously for 2024. But we probably will at least announce the foundation for it toward as the year goes on, sometime toward later this year. But it will be a 2024 award. So be ready. It'll be a lot of fun in addition to being meaningful, and it will be meaningful, right? We're not going to make this some award just to have an award that's cool, like a lot of these things are. This one will require you to be a serious player in some way, whatever way it is, or in different ways, and you'll get it if you deserve it. So on the one hand, bye-bye. I'm not that sad, really. I mean, to me, you know what? It means I don't have to read 4,000 to 6,000 pages during my holiday season. I may actually be able to have a holiday season, right? So that's a plus. And beyond that, it was a great run. And thank you to everyone who trusted me enough to participate in the watch list and who, made it meaningful. And take my word for it. If you won it, you deserved it, because my ideal watch list in 19 years would have been for everyone to lose completely. Never have had a winner. That was the ideal watch list. I did everything in my power to make you lose. So if you won, you deserved it. So thank you again for participating. Appreciate the effort you put in. And welcome to the age of the new awards that Brent and I will announce later.
One quick hint: the award will not be in some kind of Hungarian language. That's
right.
That's all I'll
say. It'll be in Basque.
Well, it's like you said, it's bittersweet, kind of tough, but I know I have something that's going to cheer you up.
And now it's time for
God, yeah, that really
Stump
does it.
the Godfather.
That goes from bittersweet to
the
just
venerable Paul Greenberg. Brought to you by
part.
Microsoft Dynamics 365 Copilot.
Yes, once again, how could AI and Copilot not cheer up the venerable Godfather when we're doing Stump the Godfather?
Copilot can.
Brought to you by Microsoft Dynamics 365 Copilot. I think you might get this one.
Nah,
we'll see.
I never get them.
I'm
gonna take guesses that get me close.
I'm throwing out hints though. This is all right. This is different. It's not a number. It's something somebody said, but it's somebody I think somewhat of a contemporary of yours. So, and it caught this. I'll explain how we get to this. So, who said it's not enough to be the best at what you do? You must be perceived as the only one who does what you do. That's pretty profound. Pretty profound. Let me give you some hints. You want some hints?
Yeah. I mean, for all I know, I said it and I don't know that. So this isn't going to really work. But go ahead.
Well, it's somebody I would think he was slightly, and I'm already giving you some hints here, slightly older than you.
What?
Yeah, somebody's that
literally leaves one person in the industry.
You make it. I did not limit this to the industry. It's somebody that you are definitely familiar with their work, who is a little older than you.
Is it somebody I know personally?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. That makes it 10 times harder.
So somebody that you definitely know who they are for their prowess, for particularly in the era that you were doing all the illegal activities.
In the 60s, huh?
Yeah. 60s.
Not enough to be the best at what you do. You must be perceived as the only one who does what you do.
Pretty
I
deep.
would love to say Mickey Mantle, but he wasn't actually typically he wasn't articulate enough to say that. Let's just say that. Boy, but he hit.
Think like when you think of the 60s, what do you think of?
Well, the problem is there's a million like gurus in the 60s. There's the Abby Hoffmans and who aren't really gurus. They're actually fairly stupid, but at the same time, they were listened to, right? Then you have the more.
All right, the key phrase listened to.
So this is somebody
not necessarily just for what they said.
Listen to, so they're like a broadcaster, a musician. They're a musician. All right. Well, one person who's surprisingly articulate, given he was on drugs all the time, was Jimi Hendrix. He was a really smart guy. He's one of the people who might have even said this. So he's one possibility. It could always be a Beatle because it's probably somewhere in their song, some song. It could be a John Lennon or Paul. Well, I don't know about Paul McCartney. John Lennon, I could see saying something like that. So I'm pretty sure because I think you said that.
Take a shot.
I don't know. There's so many options here.
You're in the right ballpark. I'll just.
I know it, but how many? Think about how many musicians there were in the 60s that were famous, like a billion, right? So, and they're all older than me. It could. I mean, it's not. I'm sure it's not Jimi Hendrix, but I'll say him anyway.
All right, that's a really good guess.
Well, he's smart. See, that guy was. It's not the way he would phrase it. That's my one weakness here. But he was really, really smart, and he had these kind of insights.
All right. Well, let's see. So this all came about from my conversation with James Dodkins, who is the CX evangelist for Pega. It's like #1 CRM influencer in the UK and a former rock guy. So this is he's going to let you know what the answer is.
All right.
Logical next step after being an international rock god. So I joined an insurance company, figured out pretty soon, probably don't want to do this forever, worked my way through the corporate ladder. I became a really expensive, crappy consultant, and it was great. I got to work with some wicked companies, Disney, Lego, Adobe, American Express. Problem was, I was kind of miserable because I'd created this corporate persona for myself. Like, it was the way I thought you had to be in business to succeed. I was spending like 90% of my energy on any given day, just desperately trying to not be myself. I heard a quote from a guy called Jerry Garcia from the Grateful Dead, right? Don't try and be the best in the world at what you do. Be the only person in the world that does what you do.
You are in the ballpark.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not a deadhead, and I never was. I liked them, but I didn't love them. I always liked them, but I was not like a huge fan. So it's less than likely I would have guessed him. But Ed Schlesinger.
You know what? When I first saw this picture of him, the immediate thought is, man, I got to shave because I'm starting to look a little too much like this. So after this show, we're getting rid of the beard here. But so it was the one and only Jerry Garcia. You were close. I thought it was.
I was in the same range. I was in the range, but because I wasn't a deadhead, I wouldn't have attributed. Like the people you attributed to are the ones you were impressed with, dramatically impressed with. And Jimi Hendrix was my god. One of my gods. So, as far as it goes, I wouldn't probably have guessed Jerry Garcia, although he certainly was intelligent enough to do that.
No, at least he was intelligent enough to say that, because that was a really interesting quote. All right. Once again, Stump the Godfather. You kind of stumped, but you were in the ball. That was tough.
I was within a range, but not close
You're in the
enough.
range.
I'll give myself a 45.
All right, Stump the Godfather, brought to you by Microsoft Dynamics 365 Copilot, the segment that's brought to you by AI. That's good. AI. All right. You want to do the introduction for today's guest?
Yes, I do. So this one gives me huge amount of pleasure, and I get very excited because we are having Meg Bear, the president of SuccessFactors at SAP, on the show. Now, here's the thing. Meg Bear and I go back to PeopleSoft, which was in the beginning of my career, toward the end of her tenure at PeopleSoft, and when she began, when the Oracle acquired them, she went over to Oracle and so on and so forth. But we became friends all the way back then and stayed friends close. People, how would I put this? She's a person I care a lot about, and I've always, even when I'm not talking to her, I'm paying attention to what she's doing, where she is, because she's active on LinkedIn and other areas, so I get to see that. And I will tell you something about Meg at Oracle, at SAP. She's a star. She's a Meg star, right? She really is. Not only is she a wonderful person, a genuinely just great person, but she's really good at everything she puts her mind to and does, and whatever job she has, which is why she's president of SuccessFactors, which is, of course, a major component piece of SAP. This is oddly, since we've been bringing the ads since 2009, she's never been on the show in those 14 years. So this thing is extra special. So let's just bring her on. I'm so excited. There she is.
What an amazing introduction, my friend. Thank you. And I do consider this a new level for my career to finally get to join you guys on this show. So thank you for including me.
I consider it had been a long-standing oversight on our part. Let's put it that way. Definitely. We should have done this a long time ago. Look, you're so great. We should have done this when you were still at PeopleSoft, and we didn't even have the show yet.
Wow. Yeah, we weren't even bringing the ads back then. So
not yet. Not at that time. So, hi.
Hello.
Now, you know what you have to start with, of course. You're president of SuccessFactors. It's not like you're working at SuccessFactors. You're running it. So, can you talk about just how you went from not there to there, basically?
Sure. So, I've been fortunate to be in multiple parts of enterprise tech. So I started my career in ERP. I then moved and did a fair bit of time in the HR space, in the people and talent space, and learning and development. Then I spent some time in customer experience. And so we got to work a little bit more closely together and thinking about how social media and how marketing was shifting and all of those sort of fun topics. Did some time in cybersecurity, thinking about cloud and innovation, did some time at startups and data, and then had the opportunity to come back to SAP, to come back to the HR discipline. But really with a new lens, which is thinking about how people can be mobilized to really drive change in business. And that's been the whole, focus for SuccessFactors, and our belief that we're transitioning from, the human capital management, managing people as assets, to human experience management, managing people as the kind of force multiplier of your business plan. And so that's kind of why I'm here. That's what I'm passionate about. And that is really a nice apex of my entire journey through tech, because at the end of the day, it really is about people. So that's who I am, and that's what I do.
So given that you've always been, as long as I've known you, I've been a right brain person, right? I mean, you know the left brain because you need to, you have to be able to measure things and basically do the math. But you've always been right brained and thus, empathetic, and you've always had that sort of, to your point, that passion and that feeling for people. You're also dealing with a technology solution, okay? And how do you integrate that, really? I mean, technology to me, as always, is still just some people are trying to define it as a driver. I'm never there. I'll always see it as an enabler, right? But how do you look at it from the standpoint of driving, let's say, a culture, or helping to drive a culture that is empathetic and is interested in employee and customer success, and at the same time, it's a business, so it has to make money. How do you like think through the whole thing, and thus the solution associated with that? Because it's hard to me. It's very hard.
Yeah. So what I'm fortunate about in, both my history and your point, kind of who I am as a person, is I like to think in terms of broad-based systems. I like to think in terms of broad-based trends. But what is consistent in, the HR discipline, people get into HR because they really want to help people. They want to connect with people and work and to make that more productive. And we can all, those of us that are experienced can understand that HR discipline has a lot more blocking and tackling to it than just that. But if you think about what's happened to the function over the last several years, with COVID, with everybody working from home, with business continuity, the role of HR has really shifted and elevated. And there's been this opportunity for the leadership to be thinking much more about the culture, the people, and how they connect those dots, not just for the nice to have touchy-feely bits, but for the true important business continuity pieces as well. And we're in a moment where there is, a lot going on. There's so much change. There's a lot of awareness of mental health impacts. There's a lot of awareness on, how work is shifting. And this is a weight on people. So what I see is that this is also an opportunity, right? This is an opportunity to elevate what the function of HR really is about, an opportunity to elevate the role that individuals can play in that bigger story, and an opportunity to elevate the conversation to exactly your points, to the fact that these are cultural elements first, that it is about, any transformation, any change, any, sort of business implication. If you're not leaning on the right foundation of culture and vision for the business, and if you're not able to articulate that in a way that motivates people and helps them succeed, you're just going to be much less successful than somebody who can. And it doesn't matter if you're a startup or a tech company or a traditional business or a business that's being massively disrupted. It really doesn't matter. That's just about scale. But what you need, the kind of mechanics of it are the same. And so as I see it, this is a moment that is really important to elevate the conversation and to not kid ourselves that all of this technology change it's never going to slow down. It's only going to get faster. And so this is a moment for humans to step into that space in a much more powerful way. But you have to do it with changing your mindset and changing the stories that you tell yourself and changing the cultures and thinking differently about, who's in charge and how you control business and how you control operations. So yes, it's perfect for me because there's very specific tech underneath all of that, but there's a whole lot of actual human behaviors that we need to be talking about as well.
It's funny because as you're talking about this, I'm thinking, we're sitting here with all this climate change and all these weird weather patterns changing, and some folks are saying are kind of walking around not saying this is climate change where it kind of feels obvious. And now we have all this AI and this Gen AI, and you're seeing like strikes by actors and writers, and because they're worried about not only their jobs currently, but what what their jobs are going to look like in the future. I'm guessing you're seeing some similar things. I mean, these are some what feels like tectonic shifts here, being brought on by this new technology, because it's doing things at such rates and scale that we've never seen before, and the impact is starting to ripple, and it feels like the ripple is moving quickly into, I don't know what, a bigger ripple. So
tsunami might be the
yeah. So being in the position where you're at, I'm sure you're getting lots of questions. And what are some of the things that people, they're fixated on, but maybe some of the things they're really not fixated on that may be just as important as the things that they are fixated on?
Yeah, so a couple things. I know your audience, you have a lot of people in tech. I will tell you, I was just in Asia. I was in Japan for an event. And this is the first time that I have had the same conversations in Asia that I've had in Europe, that I've had in the US. So when we talk about this shift or this tsunami or this ripple or whatever you want to, whatever metaphor you want to use, this is the first time that I've seen it truly global. We could argue that it happened a little bit in social media and the rollout of social media, but this one, even the move to the cloud, all of those things have always been like start in North America and then move out to the rest of the world. The definition of work changing and the kind of enthusiasm of what is AI going to mean to me? What is it going to mean to my job? Is there risk? Where's their risk? What does it mean for compliance and oversight and regulation? Like, everybody's asking this question and they're asking it all at once. And so I think that this is good. I mean, it's a little much, right? I mean, you could argue, are we in a Dilbert cartoon or are we in a real situation? But at the same time, I do think that if one thing is clear, is that this is not a moment to quit paying attention, right? This is a moment to invest in paying attention. And I would argue not overreacting, because there is a lot of, like, oh, everything is AI. Oh, everybody's going to lose their job. Oh, right. Not overreacting, but really investing in how do we, each of us, thought leaders, workers, whatever we see our role, community members, people that care about our institutions, our, environment, et cetera. How do we get better informed, and how do we build that kind of mental agility to set us up in good stead for being prepared for the future? Because you just cannot expect to ignore how much change is happening and to have that go well. Now, I would argue all of us switched over to streaming and binge watching TV with no problem. So we have the capability to change our behaviors if there's something in it for us. And I encourage us to really remind ourselves that we can change. Everything can change. It already has multiple times. It will continue to change. And it's not as scary as it sounds because we're doing it all together. So I think there's hope in that. But again, we're far from having clarity of exactly what is changing. And so being curious and being open-minded to learning and to being wrong and to seeing things come and go, like all the stuff we know will happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen probably faster than we've seen it in the past, but there will be these tidal waves of enthusiasm and pullback and all of that. I mean, there's just no way it can't happen. So,
all right. So I've got two questions for you. One, which is a combination of what you just said and something you said prior, but I'm going to ask the other one first. So what are you binge watching?
Oh my goodness. So this is total confession only amongst us friends, but I have become disastrously attached to Korean dramas.
Me too.
Seriously, we should have a chat. Like they're just they're formulaic, they're Hallmark movies, but they last longer and are better written than
they're an hour and a half a piece and go 35 episodes.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, I know they're unbelievably long. Watch what's it called? Excellent Attorney Woo.
Yes.
That's one of my favorite of I love that show.
Yes, 100%. Huge recommendation for Attorney Woo for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so that's 2 out of 3. Brent, that means you have to watch it. Well,
as soon as you eat a blueberry bagel.
I'll tell you what, if you promise to watch the entire series, I'll eat a blueberry bagel.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
You've heard it here, ladies and gentlemen.
What I said,
That's right. I will eat a blueberry bagel, but you got to watch the whole series, which is 16 episodes.
Yeah.
So
it's a commitment.
If it's up to you. If you tell me you're going to watch the series, I will buy a blueberry bagel, but I'll get it a good one. And there's no good one, but I'll get it from a good place, right? So I'll get it from a good place, and I'll eat it.
All right.
Doesn't mean I'll like it. I'll just eat it.
Okay.
But you have to promise to watch it, and we'll make the announcement.
All right, I'm going to write that down and follow up as your accountability partners.
That's right. You'll be like Ernst & Young, right? You'll be like Ernst & Young at the Oscars.
Yeah, but we can trust her. So
all right. So the second question, you said something really, really interesting. You were talking about, of course, how you have to be curious and you have to always be prepared. I'm combining 2 answers here. Change your mindset. You also said in the course of that, and you have to be prepared to change the stories that you tell yourself, which really struck me. And I've never heard anybody say that. So I want you to, if you don't mind, to take that a bit further, that specific area of it, because that is different.
Yeah, so this follows to kind of the broader area of nerd interests of mine, and that is a little bit of behavioral psychology. So just a very short rewind. The truth is we do not see the world as it is. We see the world as we are, and we understand the world as we are. This gets into challenges of perspective taking, diversity and inclusion. You can take this to a lot of spaces, which is why I spend a lot of time here. But the truth is, because we understand the world as we are and we understand it from our own first perspective, we tell ourselves a lot of stories to make sense of the world. And oftentimes those stories are very grounded in our own past experiences, because that's the anchor under which we understand the world, is our own past experiences. And so it's really, really important to challenge some of those stories. It's important to challenge them because your first person experience is not a global experience. And whether, I walk through the world as a woman in tech, my experience is very different than yours. I'm also a white woman. My experience is very different from a woman of color, of a woman in the LGBTQ community or whatever, right? So there is a need for all of us to think more broadly about the fact that our experience is a limited one. And there's a need for us, especially when we value our own experience, to make space for the fact that our past experience might not serve us in the future when there is a disruptive element. And so when I talk a lot about like the story that you tell yourself, the story that you tell yourself is sometimes helpful, right? It helps you make sense of it, but sometimes gets in the way of expanding the kind of surface area of your own understanding. And so when it comes to this idea of disruption and AI and how the world is changing and all of that, we are, those of us with experience are much more vulnerable to the idea that we're telling ourselves a story based on past experience. Past experience is helpful, but not sufficient because the future doesn't look like the past. And so just following that trend line could send us in a wrong direction. And so I really try very hard to challenge my own thinking, think about where am I wrong? How am I wrong? Maybe where am I too narrow in my perspective? And how can I build in more curiosity from other perspectives to help tell a different story? So it's a kind of a trick that I use to try to broaden my own learning and give myself a faster pace to perspective taking.
Wow. So you've been, in the game for a while, you know.
Did you just call me old, Brent?
No. Look at my beard. I can't call anybody old. Or no, not at all.
Don't shave the beard.
Oh no, I gotta shave the beard. I can't go out like Jerry.
He doesn't call him old. He calls him venerable. So watch out. Watch out if you hear the word venerable.
Okay, I'll keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
But is this like the what's the way to phrase this? Is this the most interesting time of all these things happening? And I mean, we've lived through other episodes and times and technology shifts and things like this. Is this different than all the other things that you've kind of gone through during your course of your career? And if so, is it a little bit more easier to figure out what's going to happen, or is it even rougher to understand because it is so different, or it feels like it's so different?
So it does. So let me just say that I find it very personally intellectually stimulating and exciting. So for me, big shifts and big changes create a great set of possibilities that maybe were out of reach otherwise. But I have felt like I've seen this trend coming for a while because I've been looking at it from the point of view of individual development, individual skills, right? And I've known for a long time, having come from tech. In fact, the reason I loved tech so much and really anchored my career in it was because of the fact that as a early, eager, know nothing but very anxious to learn early person in my career, I realized very quickly that getting expertise was as much advantage to people that are willing to do the work as it was to long-term experience because of the fact that tech shifted over so frequently, right? It had such a short half-life. And so throughout my career, it's been really clear to me that that these shifts are just speeding up. And so it's very acute in my just general psyche that this has been a trend that I've seen coming a long time. I've exploited for my own benefit early in my career. And now I need to think about it structurally about how to help others. I also come from I'm first in my family to go to college. I come from a environment that didn't have a lot of opportunity. And so I think in terms of, okay, who's going to be left out and who's going to benefit? And how do we think about that more strategically to help out more? So I think this is different because of the pace. Like I said, this is the first time I've seen the interest and the conversation so similar globally. And this is the first time, and big businesses, small businesses, every place I'm talking to, the conversations are almost identical. The tactics of what you would do with the conversation very different based on what's the culture, what's the business, what's the market, et cetera. But the actual conversation at a meta level is the same. And so I think this does cause me to take notice. And the other bit it causes me to take notice is that this is more multidimensional than we've seen in the past. And this is a really exciting thing. I mean, I'm the kind of person that has benefited from walking around the technology arc of enterprise software on purpose, going into different functions. I'm the kind of person that goes to TED to kind of understand what's happening in the medical field versus what's happening in entertainment versus what's happening in, the kind of energy or any of these things. And I find that coming to understanding those commonalities creates interesting sparks for me of topic. And I really think this is an area where we can't underestimate the fact of this cross-pollination option that AI gives us to get insights and parallel information from other disciplines that can really inform thinking and action and all of that, for good and for bad. And so I think there really is something here. I don't think it's going to be smooth or a straight line, but I do think it is going to change. And it's not just going to change work or tech or whatever. I think it's going to change how we approach the world, just the same way like having a GPS changes how we travel, right? Or having the ability to search any fact causes us to not necessarily store those, or having phone numbers on our cell phone causes us to not know anybody's phone number anymore. Although I still know my grandmother's phone number, who's long passed, because that's embedded deep in, in that core area of your brain that can't be erased.
Nice.
So I think there's something here that is worth us not overreacting to, but being curious about.
Let me follow up on that, because throughout some of these, shifts in new technology come in, and, it could be communications, it could be like the iPhone, it could be email, all these things, and they've had tremendous impact. But then on the other hand, when it comes to like DEI, and it comes to things like women CEO founders and investment capital, all these big tectonic shifts of the past didn't change much at all. Those things, the trajectories of more people of color in C-level positions at these companies, or women being able to raise more than like 2% of the outstanding capital. Do you see like the stuff that's happening now having such an impact on things that really didn't seem to be impacted much at all from previous big tectonic shifts?
I think if we're not careful, they're going to make it worse, and they're going to make it worse at scale. These systems are built on data. The data is built by humans. Humans are already biased. There is a serious data gap for women. There is a serious data gap for people of color. These data gaps are problematic. Then when you overlay the global socioeconomic challenges and how those affect people in different populations differently, if there's one thing that I'm really, really passionate about and really, really thoughtful about, is left to our own devices, we are going to accelerate a problem that we already know we have at a pace we do not yet really fully appreciate. Now, I know there's a lot of people that care about this and that are working really hard to try to mitigate this, but I can just tell you that it's not going to be enough. We have to take serious steps. And right now, my concern isn't even just the data gap, it's also participation. We already know, and COVID proved, that there's a huge digital divide, even in the United States, on access to, good internet, good capabilities, et cetera. This has created a gap in our education system, because we know that people have fallen behind, and the people that fall behind are the most disadvantaged. Just take that and you light a match and make it go faster, which is what technology does, and you got a serious problem. So I think when we talk regulation, when we talk things, we got to talk opportunity, we got to talk about structural inequity, and we have to take collective steps at every level. And this is why this concept of blind spots and really asking yourself, do you understand the lived experience of other people? We have to all recognize this is not because we're bad people, but we all have real gaps. And now we've taken those gaps and we've thrown them to an AI machine that is going to accelerate those at a pace we cannot even get our arms around. So we have to take it seriously, Brent. And I'm sorry, because this is like one place where the sky is falling. Like, now is the time. This will get worse. So we have to keep talking about this.
It's interesting too, though. I mean, I am probably about 1,000% in agreement with you. And then I see this interesting phenomenon when you drill down to the micro level, for example. I had a reason, which I'm not going to go into, but I had a reason to be on Nextdoor, the app that's out there. Mm-hmm. I think it's only for the United States. I haven't. Yeah. But it's astonishingly pervasive in the United States too, as an app. And basically, for those of you who don't know what it is, it's basically almost exactly like what it sounds. It basically is an app that deals by neighborhood, right? And it actually has people bi-directionally communicating all the time and taking actions and providing information and the usual. There's also the usual group of toxic dunderheads too, but generally, what's phenomenal to me about this app is you will see something like, for example, and again, this is at a micro level in the neighborhood, a young mother who has no father in the life of her baby, has no money for formula for her child. Within an hour of her putting that on Nextdoor, there's 20 cases of formula and $2,000 in her hands. And this is a constant in this app. On another level, picture of a snake in the neighborhood. Hey, what is a snake? Right? On somebody, there's experts who are snake experts. Say, so-and-so will answer. So-and-so answers and says, don't worry, it's harmless, blah, blah, blah. Apparently the only dangerous snake in this area is copperheads. But the level of goodness, if I'm putting it that way, the level of the decency, humanity shows up continually on this thing. And the app itself obviously is the enabler of that. It enables communication and it gained its power during COVID because we're all locked down and it was a way for people to talk to each other. I mean, I learned everything from the goodness of people to why the power outages keep happening in our neighborhood, things like that. Every time I go on there, and I had a reason to actually put out something there recently, 180 comments of which 160 were very positive, super helpful, allowed me to put together an action plan I need to put together, doing now. In the meantime, of course, there were 20 toxic dummies, and that was it. But that's the thing. On the one hand, you have all these global, dramatic scalar inequalities and dissonance and problems, and then you go down to this level and you find out that fundamentally people are still pretty good, right? And they do the right thing when the right thing is called for. It doesn't mean they always do. I mean, everybody's complex, and sometimes you see really horrible things, but it still goes to me to the heart that people are fundamentally good from the day they're born, right? They're good, and they can be twisted, but they start good, and hopefully they keep a lot of that there, which if you can scale the good, so to speak, and that's obviously very dreamy, if you can scale the good, you begin to start being able to reason with the people who need to be reasoned with so that they can actually take the actions that need to be taken to go to the beginnings of the larger solutions to the larger problems. My theory has always been, honestly, that the very fact that we have 8 billion people on this planet and still are here as a society proves that human goodness is predominated, because we'd be long gone if it didn't, right?
Yeah, I'm on net optimistic as well, but I would also just add to your goodness. I also believe that people are deserving of opportunity, and that people are capable of embracing opportunity if they're given a chance. And so this is a big part of kind of how I want to see the future emerge here. And what I'm thinking about is, how do we help people? And so from my strong belief is two things. There is a moment here and a chance that we could make things better at a larger scale for people. In the short term, certainly people that struggle with written communication, oh my goodness, what a gift, right? If you're English second language or second language for any place where you do work, you don't have the proficiency to communicate well. If you have any kind of learning difference and that is a challenge for you, think of what that removes, just the weight that removes in your ability to participate at a different level. If you think about this across a few other dimensions, you really quickly come to a moment to say, hey, this could really level the playing field in a good way. This could create opportunity for people and remove a lot of barriers that were kind of nonsense there for reasons of historical value, but not current value. I think that is available to us. But I also think we need to really take it seriously about how do we make sure that those opportunities actually come to life, as opposed to becoming just more and more advantage to people that already have advantage. Right. Because again, I don't want to take away from people thriving. I just want to broaden the universe of people that can thrive. And I want to do that from every level of the construct of work, including, getting people equipped to come to work, making sure they can thrive while they're working, and and past that as well.
Wow. I didn't know we were going to get deep, but I'm glad we did. This was really this is awesome, Meg. Perfect. It makes me really feel bad that we haven't had you on before, because this is a great conversation. But you know what? Paul, I got to ask, I mean, this has been such a great conversation, and thanks again for taking time to join us for this kind of conversation. But and we've known you for so long, I feel so bad about what I'm going to say, because we have one last question to ask you, and if you answer it the wrong way,
is the answer Prince? Because that
would be the right way.
Yeah, that would be the way. You'd be on.
You literally just become the third Playaz.
Yeah,
right. No. Just by saying Prince.
The question is, well, first, do you have a favorite NFL team?
Oh, okay. So this is I'm not, I hate to say this, I'm not a huge sports fan, and I know this puts me at a disadvantage.
Not really.
But I am a 5th generation Bay Area native, so 49er loyalty is long and deep, even though I wouldn't call myself the best of fans because I haven't watched football. I traded up any normal sport for kids sports and then high school sports, and I guess I could probably just now think about getting back to real sports, because I've just now arced out of that journey. But yeah.
No, you're fine. Perfect. You were a good answer. There's only one possible wrong answer here. Brent, would you like to reveal it?
Yeah, as long as you didn't say the Patriots.
No. And of course, because I'm from California, we really can't be for Dallas either. There's a kind of a law.
Don't worry, we're right there with you. But it's not an answer that would keep you off. It might suspend you from the show for a couple of years, but it wouldn't keep you off forever. Excellent. The Patriots keeps you off forever.
All right. Well, I can appreciate why, and I'm on your team for sure.
Beautiful.
Well, thank you once again. That was a great conversation, and we will definitely invite you to be on way before 14 or 15 years, because
that's good. I appreciate that. I do think there's some good follow-ups for us to ponder in the next year. And it's like, did anything come out the way we thought it was going to? I'm sure the answer is no.
I have a funny feeling you'll be on the show before a full year is up.
Sounds good.
So don't think out a full year yet.
Sounds good.
Start thinking months.
Definitely going to be bragging about this with friends and family. So thank you for including me on the show.
This was, this is I'm so glad we did this. That's
Absolutely.
all I can say. Thank you, my dear.
All right. That's all I got too, man. I mean,
no, we're good.
All right. So on behalf of Meg Bear, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Playaz, and when you see many, it's time for us to say goodbye. Goodbye.